it would be interesting to hear each of you speak a bit more on the idea of producing an exhibition rooted very much in ways of interconnectedness at a time of distance, and when the whole notion of audience is so on its side. And so if each of you, with your very tactile and like experiential immersive work, would speak to that. And I think let's start with Chelsea, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it pops into my head another quote from Carl Sagan, which was that the cosmos were created as a way for us to know we were created as a way for the cosmos to know itself. And I think that that's just so beautiful, because it gets really down to like the micro scale, you know, like with Susie's work, you look at a tree and you think about how it took billions of years to evolve into what we see in front of us. And like, it's the beauty of that. And it's the beauty that we can all see in separate perspectives of nature, of like the one thing. And we can all relate to it. We're all part of it, and it is all part of us. Yeah.
So Chelsea wrote something in her statement that I really loved. She said, "My brain constructs its own visuals to focus on the absence of others." And I just thought that was such a poetic way of articulating. I think that I've been trying to approach this idea of connectedness from, you know, the raw aspect of its absence, of our disconnect right now, and trying to elucidate what we're missing and what was there that we didn't quite consider as valuable as we do now. And the value is coming from its absence. And so I think that by trying to reconstruct an impression of open space, I was trying to share that, so that I guess in my best hope would be that it gives a viewer their own souvenir, their own idea of carrying around some space, psychic space, emotional space, spiritual space inside of them from having been out in the woods, and knowing that if I can, you know, kind of cobble together a little bit of shadow and light and rootedness, that maybe we all can. I don't know, that it's a worthwhile endeavor.
Beautiful. On that note, actually, we have questions coming in about form and materiality and process. And so specifically, if we could start with Susie, there is great interest in how it is that you printed so beautifully on silk, specifically. And then for Chelsea, there's interest in the process of crafting and unifying the plaster forms together so seamlessly. So why don't we go in that order, Susie, okay, and then Chelsea.
So the silk is printed with an inkjet printer. So because I got a great tip from an artist friend, shout out to Angela, I found this silk organza that is treated and on backing paper, so you can feed it right through your inkjet printer. So it kind of speaks to me of the everyday. It takes high craft out of printmaking, which, you know, made me go back and read a lot of Walter Benjamin and Sontag on, you know, imagery in the age of mechanical reproduction. But it also really grounded it for me in the everyday and the accessible.
So these pieces actually started out counterintuitively. Like I had the frames built first with a 1/4 inch of a lip. So they're basically like trays. And then like I said, I composed the pieces. So I was collecting my trash and I would pour in the plaster with, I think like a mixture, like a pretty heavy mixture of glue to water, just so they would be like really structurally sound. And then I like figured out the compositions where I wanted them, and then just, it's been a lot of experimentation with different construction materials, honestly. But then just like heavy duty gluing them to the frame, to the like board. Well, so there's like a pegboard behind it. And so gluing them to the pegboard, and then using more plaster, like wetting down the pieces with some water just so everything would kind of seamlessly stick together, and then pouring more plaster around that in the tray. And then the pegboard acted as basically like a key for the plaster to lock into. And yeah, then just letting it dry for a really long time.
Thank you both so much. We have time for one more question. And this one is a little bit less technical and more philosophical, really about your philosophies on the intersections of the spiritual and art, because you both spoke to themes of the sacred, with or without using that language. And there's so much of the divine feminine in your work, if you don't mind me saying. And so this question stood out, and if you would both speak to that, and we'll go in the order we started this time before we close it out. So Chelsea and then Susie, please.
Sure. So I feel like art creating is this bringing yourself closer. It's like getting yourself closer to your higher self, and getting yourself closer to your purpose in life, which is like love and joy and contentment within yourself and with other people. So I think that the process of creating these pieces has really been a journey of like that exploration of the exploration of the mystery of the questions that you ask yourself, like how can I, or like, you know, how can I be, who am I, what can I do better for my exterior world, my immediate world, my, you know, my current reality, in a way that is joyful and careful and tender.
So I guess I would answer that with my favorite quote from, as I think of her, Saint Annie Dillard. She said, "You were made and put here to give voice to this, your own astonishment." So I carry that around in my forebrain because so much is astonishing. And I think that's what I'm always trying to approach and put myself in the way of and wrestle with in my art making.
Oh, both of you. Every word is such a jewel, and thank you for sharing them all with us today.